This is pretty good. ACLU staffer fumes at university for accepting Nick Sandmann, report says. An American Civil Liberties Union official in Kentucky chastised Transylvania University over the weekend for accepting Nicholas Sandmann as a student, calling the move a stain on the institution. Sandmann made headlines back in 2019 when a Native American activist stood in front of the teen and began chanting in his face during a pro-life rally at the Lincoln Memorial in Washington, D.C. Sandmann, who was wearing a MAGA hat at the time and is a supporter of President Trump, held his ground and smiled at the man as he continued to talk in his face. Does anyone else think it's a bit of a stain on Transylvania? Listen to how he wrote it. Oh, God, I bet it was on Twitter, right? Oh, Facebook post. This is how they write things. Does anyone else think it's a bit of a stain on Transylvania University for accepting Nick Sandmann? I'm sure it's a both sides defense, but it's pretty counter to their mission and another instance of there not actually being equal sides to an issue. The ACLU's Sam Crankshaw said in a Facebook post, according to the National Review. Comment has since been taken down. But can't you hear it? Can you hear the Karen seeping out of the soy-filled pores of this chump? Ugh. Following the confrontation back in 2019, outlets such as CNN and the Washington Post were accused of purposefully casting Sandmann and his fellow Covington students as the main aggressors, with misleading reporting. Both outlets ultimately reached a legal settlement with Sandmann after he sued them for $250 million. Defamation suit sought damages for the emotional distress Nicholas and his family suffered in the fallout from the network's reporting. And lawyers for Sandmann have said they will target other major outlets that reported on the story in the same way. An assistant professor and diversity scholar at Transylvania University, Avery Tompkins, shared a comment on the post before it was taken down, calling Sandmann's public behavior and rhetoric atrocious and uninformed. A diversity scholar. Different. Like, what does a diversity scholar do? God, what a waste of education. Adding that the young student must accept his class as gospel, the National Review reported. Bad Vibe says guilt by association also extends to frequenting a drug house, which I've seen cases where one visit was cited as frequenting. Yep. Nix Hex says, could you please clip your rant, RE rights not having to exist if we only cared about protecting speech that didn't offend people, etc. I've tried to explain it to friends, but having a convenient clip would be awesome. Maybe. We'll see. We'll see. Probably. Maybe I should just do a short video specifically tailored to that. So it's not in the context of a live stream, but I don't know. We'll see. We can't not admit academically qualified students due to their political views and personal views, he said. If he ends up in my intro class, fine. He might learn something that is actually based on research and evidence. Oh, I'm sure. I'm sure. Tompkins added that Sandmann is part of groups that hold anti-intellectualist views and would see the professor as part of some liberal brainwashing machine. Well, I mean, why would he think that? Why would anyone see this professor as some sort of liberal brainwashing machine? I don't know. I can't think of any reasons. Good God. But signing up for Transy in my class means he is required to learn that information, even if he disagrees. Ugh. Gah. Get him out. The professor continued, if he were to cause problems by being disruptive, trolling, or engaging in unethical behavior of any kind, I would immediately document it, just like I would for any student doing the same thing. And he would just be putting himself in a position for me to file a conduct report. Fire. Fire anyone like this. Ever. If you have anyone who will preemptively talk like this for your own benefit, just fire them. That's all. That's all. That person is a walking problem. Tompkins later issued an apology saying, I want to apologize for my mistake in singling out a student and any misunderstandings that arose from it. Misunderstandings? No, I think the problem is everybody understands you just fine. One of my favorite things about working at a liberal arts institution is that our community has diverse perspectives. He continued, ones that you just said that you don't care about. All students, faculty, and staff are able to engage in civil discourse with those whose views who may be different from their own, and to learn about those views in an academic setting. I value and support these conversations with students, and I know that students value these conversations with their peers as well. Woo! The university said in a statement to the National Review on Tuesday that it would be reviewing the situation that Transylvania, like nearly every campus, is composed of those holding the full range of viewpoints. Yeah, it just sounds like one of your employees has no desire to actually engage in discourse that they're purporting. Notice what it always is with these people. It's always this. The other person needs to have their eyes opened to my ideas. But I am never required to engage the other person's ideas because they need to learn in my class what's true and what's evidence-based. Automatically dismissing any truth or even evidence or experience that Sandmann might bring. Dismissing his perspective as invalid without hearing it, with only assuming what it is. And that is such a common problem today. People have determined that their knowledge should be imparted to others without receiving a counter-factual, counter-contextual, or counter-reasoned statement. And everybody should accept that. Everybody should accept the counter, especially in the academic setting. I've never heard of Transylvania University. I don't know where it is. Where is this place? Is it in Kentucky? I assume it's got to be like a private school, right? Yeah, it's in Lexington, Kentucky. Okay. Colloquially known as Transy. I would definitely not go there just for that. Private university in Lexington, Kentucky, founded in 1780. Average cost after student aid, $25,000 annually. Before aid, $54,000. So there you go. Very, very interesting. I like to criticize the New York Post. They mentioned the ACLU thing, but then they just transition after like one line about it into the professor, which is more of the story. More of the story is the professor singling out Sandmann and automatically dismissing him. But they started with the ACLU guy, just dripping soy onto Facebook. Ugh. Terrible. Terrible reporting, but really inappropriate of the ACLU. The ACLU who should have been defending Nicholas Sandmann. That's who they should have been on the side of. That kid was maligned immediately by a giant media machine. And it was completely inappropriate for them to do so. It was also not good news reporting, and it was ultimately defamatory.